every so often, the folks at the Baton Rouge Area Chamber come out with their latest BR by the numbers. And you know what? We've got one in hand. Let's welcome in Jake Polansky. How are you, man? Welcome back.
Hey, Brian. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well as well. So the long and the short of it is our population's growing.
Yeah, our population's growing. We're seeing a lot of job growth in some key sectors like healthcare and construction and leisure and hospitality too. So ultimately, we think this was a pretty good report. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it.
All right, well, let's dig in. I mean, yeah, I've read the summary and I've dug in on the report just a little bit, not the whole way through.
Yeah, so this is our quarterly dashboard, and we used to release these kind of monthly, and we decided that we're going to transition away from that and start to do these quarterly because that allows us to kind of take a longer view look at some of these trends and really capture some things that really weren't visible on a month-to-month basis.
Yes.
And so when we looked at this report, I mentioned the healthcare industry is growing. So we're up 2,400 jobs in healthcare over the last year. And I think that's really great. And when you kind of look at what's going on around the region, like Baton Rouge General's new hospital in Livingston Parish, we've seen some healthcare growth in Ascension Parish as well. These are some of those types of projects that really exemplify what's going on in the healthcare sector. But the construction sector is up too. We're seeing a lot of job growth in specialty trade contractors. We're seeing more welders, more plumbers, more pipe fitters. So that's also really great to see, especially because we have so many great projects in the pipeline and that are coming online here pretty soon. So that's really good to see. And, the other industry that we highlight kind of in the overview is the leisure and hospitality sector. Jobs in that sector, which is, you think your restaurants, think your bars, think anywhere you go to have a good time. Jobs in that sector are up about 4% over the last year. And we note that these job numbers are only through January. So since we're hosting that big bowling tournament at the River Center right now, that's like 58,000 bowlers going to the River Center from March through July. And those numbers and the impact from those bowlers are not included in this report. So we think that there's some continued growth that may happen in this sector that we'll talk about in the next quarterly report as well.
Well, in the next two quarterly reports, if we can really start forecasting out, because when you factor in the added staffing needed within our hotel sector because of the bowlers, factor in the casino, the Bell coming back online with their hotel in the very near future as well. So that's going to staff up too.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really huge because you think about where that's kind of situated downtown. I think that's going to attract maybe a different clientele, maybe people who weren't interested in walking to the Queen, but they're staying at one of those downtown hotels. And they know that Bally's is right in their backyard, and they'll say, why don't I just step on over and try my luck? So I'm pretty excited for that too, and I think that's going to be, really great for tourists, but downtown residents and workers too, because there's going to be a restaurant and bar in there. I think it's really going to diversify the options that we have downtown.
And the way they're mapping out, since they're owned by the same parent company, the way they're mapping out packaging these as two separate products with a shuttle going back and forth in between the two, they're making it something very appealing. They're maximizing it before they even get started.
Yeah, it's it makes me really bullish on downtown, and I think that pairs really nicely with what the Plan Baton Rouge 3 kind of plan is doing right now. Sasaki's in they're working on the plan as we speak. Public meetings are going to start, I think, at the end of this month. But I think there's so much energy downtown right now, and if Sasaki can really capture that and help channel that into their public meetings and their plan overall, I think that downtown's looking pretty good right now.
We're talking with the latest BR by the numbers with Jake Polansky from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. All right, let's talk about those construction jobs, because construction jobs normally mean future jobs because they're building something and they're likely building someplace where someone's going to work. So is there a way to a way to figure out how many jobs are on the horizon based off of what's being built?
Yeah. So, some of these, we have a really strong base of industrial construction employment here because we have so many manufacturing and so many petrochemical facilities all across the region. So when you look at kind of what makes Baton Rouge really unique, it really is that industrial construction sector. And so, with projects like Exxon's recently announced $100 million expansion that they announced like last week, I think, projects like that really fuel that industrial construction growth. But what you may be alluding to is the Hyundai Steel project that was announced a couple of weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And I think Jason was maybe with you talking about this project last week. But I mean, we're all obviously really excited about this project. We think it's going to be transformative for the capital region. And a lot of these industrial construction jobs don't yet reflect kind of the impacts that that project is going to have on the region.
How difficult is it to map that out? Because a project like that, you're going to see construction jobs kicking in next year, and those construction jobs are going to be in effect for probably another year or two after that, and then things will roll on because it's a constant roll forward, but it's way forward.
That's right. And you know, it's going to be a 2 or 3 year construction build out phase. And those construction laborers, it's going to be thousands of construction jobs. Some of that's going to be skilled labor. Some of that's going to be less skilled labor that they're going to need to build that facility.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when that facility is fully built in 2029, the construction needs won't stop there. That facility is going to, you know, need to do expansions or undergo renovations to help, you know, meet current needs. And that's going to continue to fuel that industrial construction growth kind of long term, not only for that project, but, you know, there's going to be, you know, dozens of other projects throughout the region over the next few years that these industrial contractors are going to be working on. But I mean, yeah, once that facility is fully built out, they're projecting 1,300 jobs, full-time jobs at that facility. That's not including construction, which is an incredibly high number of jobs at a manufacturing facility. We note in the report that Baton Rouge's manufacturing sector right now is about 30,000 jobs and some change. So when this facility is fully built out and staffed, that has the potential to boost manufacturing employment by the region by 4% from just one project, which is just an incredible number.
You know, and I'm trying to decide if I want to stay on that one or move to the next one. Let's stay on that one for 1 second. All right. That's going to be 1,300 jobs coming to Donaldsonville, right? Now, not everybody's going to live in Donaldsonville or White Castle for that matter. And if everybody did, you would increase the population of Donaldsonville by over 20%. But not everyone's going to live within Donaldsonville, but they will be within the metro area. How can we start looking at making sure our infrastructure stays a step ahead of where those jobs are coming in?
No, you're absolutely right. And I'm really glad that you bring that up. You know, I think that one of the really exciting pieces of this project is the potential that it has for Donaldsonville and for Ascension Parish. You know, some of these people that are going to be working at this facility full time, they already live here. They already live in the capital region. Mm-hmm. But some of them don't. And some people are going to move to the capital region to work at this facility. And I think the key thing at the end of the day is housing. These people are going to look for housing that meets their needs.
Yes.
Some of them are going to want to rent. Some of them are going to want to buy. But they're going to go to wherever the housing is. And if Ascension Parish and Donaldsonville really wants to capture these benefits from all of these people that are going to be moving here for this project, then they have to make sure that they boost their housing supply to make sure that these workers have a place to live. And the danger that these regions face if they don't boost their housing supply is that prices are going to go up. Because if you keep supply the same and demand goes way up, then for housing, prices are going to go up. And so I think that is, in particular, an opportunity for Donaldsonville to make sure that they provide, you know, duplexes, triplexes, you know, apartment buildings, whatever they think that the demand is going to be for these workers. I think that those are things that regional leaders need to start thinking about right now. And we're included in that conversation too.
Well, it's more than just the homes. And yes, someone should be on the phone with HGTV right now to talk about film tax credits and launching the show Flipping Ascension. But there's more than that. I was getting to the bridge. I was getting to the new bridge with that. That's where I was hoping you would walk it up to.
Yeah, and you know, there's true infrastructure, you know, concerns like that too. You know, 1,300 people commuting in every day. That's a lot, and you know, thousands of construction workers commuting on our roads every day during the build out phase, along with, you know, construction trucks and things like that.
Yeah,
that's a lot of stress that's going to be, you know, put on our regional infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think the only way to kind of go about it is to make sure that we're being proactive. I know that the state and DOTD is going to be working with Hyundai Steel to make sure that infrastructure at the site meets their needs. But, you know, it's infrastructure to the site as well. It's LA 30, it's the bridge, it's I-10 and I-12. You know, all of these things I think are going to be stressed and taxed a little bit more than they are now. But again, I really do think that these are opportunities, because when you do expansions like this to infrastructure, that also means more jobs. That also means more investment in the region. So all of these things I think are you know, things that need to be addressed, but they do spell opportunity for the region.
And that's just based off the Hyundai announcement. I mean, coming up immediately after the show, I'm heading over to State Capitol because there's another announcement coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. And I don't think Susan Bourgeois is anywhere near done. So we're probably going to see more in the near future.
I mean, this is one of the the Hyundai Steel project is one of the biggest announcements, if not the biggest announcement in the state's history for economic development.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you look at CapEx and jobs.
Yeah.
And I mean, this state is on a winning streak right now. So it's fun to get to work at the Baton Rouge Area Chamber when we're seeing these projects kind of come to fruition that we've worked on for years at this point. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of momentum in the space right now.
All right, new jobs versus unemployment. We're talking with Jake Polansky from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Latest BR by the numbers is out. New jobs versus unemployment. What are we doing to maximize that? Well, to make sure that every job that's posted has someone that can, work in it.
Yeah, I think, when you think back like 2-3 years ago, we saw sky high demand for labor. That has really kind of come down back to earth. But we're still seeing, a healthy number of job postings across the region. And, unemployment is also pretty low now, too. So I think there's still kind of a significant demand for labor when you look at kind of the supply of labor versus the demand for labor. And I think that kind of comes to the front when you look at wages. If you look at the wages that are getting posted in job postings, the average wage has grown 25% in the last year alone. About a year ago, the average wage was $46.8 thousand. And today it's $58.3 thousand. And that's just in jobs that are being advertised online. So I think that employers are kind of seeing this market for labor that they have right now. And they're saying, okay, I need to bump up my wages if I want to get the talent that I really need to do this job. And so, unemployment's low, but that's why it's so good that we're seeing our region grow overall. You kind of said that at the top. We're at 880,000 plus residents now for the first time ever in our region. And, in order to fill these jobs, we need more people coming in to be able to work these jobs.
Okay, now following up on that is where the people are coming in from. And this is the part of the BR by the numbers that this is where I really start to nerd out, Jake, is where they're coming in from. And honestly, not just who's moving here, but those that are leaving here, where are they going?
Yeah, so I love talking about this part too, because I think it's really interesting. So, I mean, you speak to people here anecdotally, and it sounds like everyone's kids here, after they graduate high school, after they graduate college, they move to Houston, they move to Dallas, they move to Atlanta, they move to one of these larger cities, right?
Right.
And when you look at the people who are moving here, they're moving here from smaller cities. They're moving here from Alexandria, from Hammond, from Natchitoches. They're moving here from smaller cities, primarily across the state. That's really where kind of our competitive advantage is when it comes to migration. And when you think about it, when you compare Baton Rouge to these smaller cities across Louisiana, Baton Rouge is the Houston, Baton Rouge is the Atlanta or the Dallas. It is where greater economic opportunity is for these young people and these families alike. So I think that's really kind of interesting. And that's where we should focus when we're trying to talk about talent attraction, where we're trying to bring people from. I think that is really where we could lean into a little bit. And also New Orleans. New Orleans has kind of struggled with out-migration for a while, and we see pretty strong migration from New Orleans to Baton Rouge too.
Well, you got net coming in from New Orleans, a net of 1,259. And you would think with New Orleans technically being a larger market than us, that wouldn't necessarily be the trend. Meanwhile, you move over to the North Shore, and we've got a net of negative 24 there.
Yeah, and if you want to check out this report in full and you're listening, it's at brbythenumbers.substack.com. And when we're looking at this chart, what's interesting about the chart that Brian and I are talking about right now is that it's just talking about taxpayers. So it's not talking about people. It's just talking about people who work jobs and pay taxes.
Yeah.
So, 1,200 workers net from New Orleans. That's not 1,200 people. That's not 1,200, people with kids that need to be educated in local schools and services need to be provided to. These are workers. And so I think that's also kind of really interesting too.
Last one before I get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate your time. We're talking with Jake Polansky from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber about the latest BR by the numbers. Good news across the board when it comes to new jobs. However, one of those sectors where we have seen an increase is in government. And we know that there's a very much a Doge trend going on right now. The next BR by the numbers, the next time we take a look at this, are we expecting to see a drop in government jobs?
Yeah, I think that's certainly likely. There's a hiring freeze at the state level right now. There's a hiring freeze at LSU. That's a lot of jobs right now in Baton Rouge that are under a hiring freeze. For better or worse, our economy is largely dependent on government work. But I think kind of when you reference the national level, the federal level, there's very few federal government jobs here. And so the next time we release this quarterly report that will reflect any impact on federal government workers, but I'm not anticipating really seeing any drop in employment due to those federal impacts, just because, we don't have that much federal employment here to begin with.
He is Jake Polansky from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We always appreciate the time, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.